Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Sir, you mentioned that you are the last speaker. Actually, I am the last speaker. And nothing left to say too much because our learned speakers from Ahsan Iqbal till you shared the overall narrative, overall picture of the Middle East with a special focus on Qatar and Saudi Arabia. I'm very grateful to IPRI and the WE News, especially my friend and my teacher, Ambassador Dr. Raza Muhammad, and also the CEO and Chief Editor of WE News, Mr. Ammar Masood, for inviting me here. I planned something different when I came here, but after listening to all the speakers, I will try to focus on 2 or 3 areas. And before discussing about the Middle East with a special focus on Saudi Arabia, my topic is investment. I'm here to talk about investment, not the strategic side. So I want to share some candid views or the ground reality, which is actually Pakistan facing since last many decades. And before sharing my views, I want to share a disclaimer that I'm not part of any specific government or the political party. I'm here as a technocrat, as a professional, as a practitioner, and currently I'm working with the Investment Minister of Saudi Arabia, His Excellency Khalid Al-Faleh, and also I'm working directly with the governments of Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. And I'm facilitating few investments from both sides. I'm seeing my brother Maulana Tahir Ashrafi here. He is the champion of Middle East, I must say. And also our teacher and my inspiration, the former Foreign Secretary of Pakistan, Mr. Suhail Mahmood. I interacted with him several times during my brief stay of 6 months in the Board of Investment. And I was part of several meetings where he shared his views, and I was really inspired, especially with China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and many other countries. So I mentioned that I was in Board of Investment for 6 months. In last 7 years, we appointed 8 or 9 federal secretaries. And last week, we changed another finance secretary. 7, 8 or 9 in last 7 years. We appointed 7 or 8 chairman of Federal Board of Revenue in last 7 years. We appointed 7 chairmen of Board of Investment in last 7 years. So I am sharing the 3 important components of economy. Finance Secretary, the most important person in the government, the custodian of finance, FBR, the taxation, and also the investment. Here is the problem. The poor decision making, the lack of continuation of policies and leadership, an absence of a long-term strategy or long-term plan. So whatever I'm sharing for the state of Pakistan. This is not responsibility of any specific government or any political party or any specific prime minister. Because I am observing this since last few decades. Our FDI inflow was under $30 billion. Currently, this is around $1.5 billion. But the reality is that there is an opportunity based on ground reality. No assumptions, no exaggeration, no emotions. A few $billion from 6-7 countries every year per country, especially from China and Saudi Arabia. There is an opportunity of few $billion investment generation, both FDI as well as the local investment, every year in different sectors of our economy. But what I'm sharing that currently this is around $1.5 billion. So this is another bitter truth or the fact of the state of Pakistan. So there are 4 root causes. Before I'm jumping into Saudi Arabia, what I'm doing, what's my observation, what should be the way forward, I want to cover the internal situation here. Because without addressing the internal issues, without fixing the internal issues, we can't attract or sustain FDI. So in next 4-5 years, we can achieve a target of $10-12 billion. And next 8 to 10 years, we can achieve $22-25 billion. And this is not an exaggerated number. This is a very moderate number, not the higher side number. So it's up to us how we plan and strategize this whole game of economy, investment, and all related matters. So without thinking or dreaming or planning, attracting FDI, the most important point is to facilitate your existing investors, whether the foreign investors already existing in Pakistan. One is the OICCI crowd, Overseas Investor Chamber of Commerce Industry. There are 210 multinational companies like Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Standard Chartered, Nestle. They are the members of OICCI. And there are non-OICCI members who are the small size, mid-size investors already operating in Pakistan from around the world. So this is the foreign investor, which is already existing. And the second is the local investors. All big business houses, then medium-sized enterprises, and then small enterprises. मैं आजकल जिधर जाता हूँ हर जगह एक ही बात कहता हूँ. And by the way, when I joined the Board of Investment, during the 6 months, I shared the same point in the public seminars, in the media, that Pakistan में business करना एक जिहाद हो चुका है. I'm running the corporate Pakistan group, the intelligentsia of Pakistan. All the major corporates I'm working, all the major business houses I'm working, every sector. But for manufacturing, हर रोज एक नोटिस आता है, हर चीज होती है. तो हम चाइना की बात करें, हम यूएस की बात करें, हम किसी कंट्री से बात करें, हम पूरे मिडिल ईस्ट की बात करें, the most important thing is to fix your internal issues, the bureaucratic system here. So 4 root causes I want to identify here. And most important root cause, in my personal opinion, you may disagree, but in my personal opinion, the first important root cause is the incompetence at every level, not the corruption. There is zero tolerance on corruption. But where we are standing is not because of corruption. This is just because of incompetence. The second root cause is lack of political will. That's why we are reluctant to fix the issue of public sector enterprises. We are wasting over 1 trillion rupees annually on PSEs. We are not ready to privatize them. We are spending 1.3 trillion annually on pensions. This is just because of lack of political will. Whether the present government, the previous government, and all the previous governments, this is the dilemma of this country. We are not ready to change our mindset. We are not ready to change our priorities. So lack of political will or the leader's individual will is the biggest hurdle for all these development works. There are talks, and talks, but very less action as far as the state of Pakistan is concerned. And in my humble opinion, and a very candid view, that all previous governments collectively responsible, whether civilians or the military governments, because we are working on an ad hoc basis. In majority of the issues, Pakistan as a state is not working on long-term plans. When I joined the government, after 1 week I asked the Prime Minister that seems like this, everything is on ad hoc basis. There is no long-term plan. This was only 1 week observation after attending several meetings on daily basis. The third and another important issue is lack of collaboration. The collaboration amongst stakeholders. So there is a need to study the countries in Central Asia, ASEAN, Middle East, Far East, how they are managing their investment economic climate. They were also facing the same issues. But what exactly they did to fix these issues? हमारे एक मिनिस्टर आता है, वो अपने आप को अफलातून समझता है, वो 3 साल 5 साल बैठे रहता है, परफॉर्मेंस ऑलमोस्ट जीरो होती है. There is no accountability. This is the dilemma in every government. There are brilliant ministers, there are brilliant individuals. So this is responsibility of a prime minister, whoever is the prime minister, whoever is leading the country, that he or she should continue only the peak performers. If someone is delivering, you should continue. If someone is not performing, please remove him or her. The issue is that left and right hands of any prime minister are the beneficiaries. It's elite capture. But because of this attitude, because of this practice, Pakistan is suffering. We are talking about Middle East. I mentioned that there is a huge potential of few $1 billion FDI annually. Currently, the changing face of Riyadh is an eye-opener for the world. This is the most happening place on this earth right now. The most happening place. And this is just the beginning. In last 6 years, what they did is outstanding, is an eye-opener. The world community is exploring Riyadh. Every country is exploring Riyadh. Every big investor is exploring Riyadh. On 29th of May, last month, they inaugurated the 4 special economic zones, and they hosted a big conference there. The world community was there. They decided to be the powerhouse of every sector of their economy. They decided not to be an oil country anymore. What happened in the women engagement empowerment in last 6 years is another classic story. In many ministries and many large-sized public sector enterprises, the percentage of women workforce is now 36 to 37%. And this is the authentic number. This happened in Riyadh. I was interacting with many Saudis. I was interacting with many foreigners based in Saudi Arabia. And they all confirmed that the ministries and the government is more efficient and fast in comparison with the private sector, including the multinationals. So all credit goes to the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who is really an inspiration today, not only for the Saudis, but for the Muslim Ummah, as well as for the world community. Nothing is happening based on assumptions or without any plan. And he took over, he engaged McKinsey's global leadership, all the top firms' global leadership. Everything is by plan. We should study their Vision 2030. The projects like Neom City, Red Sea, and many other projects are an eye-opener. They are hosting the Expo 2030. So when I joined Board of Investment, the Prime Minister handed over me the Saudi project. And he said only one thing. This was my one-on-one and then later in one group meeting. That we visited Saudi Arabia, we had excellent meetings. But unfortunately, there was no follow-up from my team. And I replied that there is no big claim from my side. I'm just a student, a very small man. But on follow-up, you don't need to worry. In 6 months, we had 18 official meetings, including 2 in-person meetings with the Saudi leadership. In the last meeting held in Tashkent, this was over 2 hours meeting, and 2 persons from my team were there also, with the Investment Minister of Saudi Arabia and his entire team. We designed a strategy for both countries. And what Brother Khalid Al-Fali said, and later he said the same thing to me, the brother, I am the biggest salesman of Pakistan. This is a known fact. But I'm a failed salesman in case of Pakistan. He also mentioned that there are 3 or 4 years, otherwise Pakistan is becoming irrelevant. Here I'm not talking about the strategic issues. Our strategic relationship with our military and the Saudi government is something different, and this will be continued. But we should understand the ground fact of today's world. कि अब कारोबार जो है ना दोस्ती की बुनियाद पे नहीं होता है. Business is all about give and take. So what's my observation, not only in Saudi Arabia or the Middle East, but with other countries also, including China and many other countries, that as a state, we are wasting the time of investors and the countries. And investment is like a water. वो आपके पास से गुजरती है, जितना आप ग्रैब करते हैं, आप कर लेते हैं. Otherwise, investor किसी के लिए नहीं रुकता. So there were 8 focus areas where Saudis wanted to invest. Currently, situation is sort of no development because the political instability, and also we are going towards the elections. So I'm not expecting any G2G FDI or even G2B FDI. at least in the next 1 year. So there is a need of B2B movement, which I emphasize the Prime Minister. And recently I facilitated 3 big business houses. One already had a meeting with several investors. They are planning to collaborate. And this will take, of course, some time. But we need case studies from both sides. Someone mentioned about the Aramco project. This is, I think, so it's a 8-10 years old project. In my tenure also, we highlighted, they were emphasized that we should do this. There was a problem of Iran and everything, but now the situation has changed. Why China facilitated Iran and Saudi Arabia? Why not Pakistan? How long we will continue as an average performer and expecting some good things for us? ये तो घर पर बैठा हुआ भाई भी आपको पैसे नहीं देता भाई, अगर आप उसका टाइम ज़ाया करते हैं, अगर आप उससे बातें करते हैं. During my 6 months, I observed कि दुनिया का इन्वेस्टर आपके पास आता है. जब आप टाइम ज़ाया करते हैं, जब आप उसको तंग करते हैं, जब आप उसको परेशान करते हैं, तो फिर वो भाग जाता है. So 2 cases I mentioned to the Prime Minister, to the Army Chief also, to the Saudi Ambassador also, with the Nawaf, and many others in the government, the Finance Minister also, that first fix the issue of Al-Jumai, the parent organization of Key Electric. They are in trouble, and they are following this government also. Because if you are targeting 50-60 big investors, family business houses, first you should remove the barriers of the existing investors from Saudi Arabia. What we did with Aqua Power is a very sad story. It's a very sad story. So if you want to create an enabling environment with the Saudis, you should remove the problems, you should resolve the issues of their existing investors. Since 2005, Al-Jumai ने कोई पैसा पाकिस्तान से नहीं बनाया. की इलेक्ट्रिक का इशू सबको पता है. It's a state's problem. I'm from Karachi. 80% Karachi is load shedding exempted. Yes, there are issues, but there's a problem of the state to remove the hurdles, remove the barriers. 2005 से आज तक आपने की इलेक्ट्रिक को सब्सिडी नहीं दी, बाकी सब डिस्कोस को आप सब्सिडी देते हैं. This was the benefit of the privatization, like we did with the banks, with the telecom. So Aramco के अलावा जो एक प्रोजेक्ट जिस पे 18 मीटिंग में मिनट्स मौजूद है, बोर्ड ओवर ले सकते हैं मिनट्स. जो उनका सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट था वो तब they wanted to engage Pakistan as their food security partner. They wanted to establish agriculture zone. This is states' inefficiency, states' incompetence, states' lack of will, states' lack of collaboration. कि जो इन्वेस्टर आपके पास पैसे लगाना चाह रहा है, आप उसकी चीजें फाइनल नहीं करते. And this is happening since long, because we are habitual for average performance. हम थोड़ी सी चीजें आती हैं. We should celebrate the small successes, but please try to understand the potential of this country. So there are several other projects like healthcare and many other projects where Saudis wanted to invest. The problem is here. What Saudi Arabia is doing today, their public investment fund is the 3rd biggest investment fund in the world. And the official size of this fund in 2025 December will be $1.7 trillion. $1.7 trillion. What they are doing, they are investing in countries, they are investing in organizations globally. So what is happening that Saudis are in few $billion in small countries. But what the state of Pakistan is doing since long, we are begging for $2-3 billion deposit as a security deposit in our State Bank of Pakistan. This is the mindset. And I'm not blaming any specific political party or any specific political government or the military government. No. This is a collective responsibility and collective failure. But whatever I'm sharing first of all with the pain, but I'm sharing the facts. No one can deny these facts. I'm here with complete responsibility. So there is a need of big rethink to fix our system. There is a need of big rethink for complete overhauling of this system. Of course, this is not possible overnight, but we should start with few important structural reforms. मीटिंग्स होती हैं, तस्वीरें खिंचती हैं, बयानात आते हैं, प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस होती है. ये ताहिर भाई बैठे, इनको बोलो होता कुछ नहीं है. ना मैं मजाक कर रहा हूँ, ना मैं कोई जोक कर रहा हूँ, ना मैं कोई चीज़ एग्जेजरेट कर रहा हूँ. मैं आपको ग्राउंड रियलिटी बता रहा हूँ. ये जो बेगिंग का माइंडसेट है ना, जब तक खत्म नहीं करेगी ये कौम, आपकी इज्जत नहीं होगी दुनिया में. So in last meeting, the minister said कि दो स्पेसिफिक इन्वेस्टर्स की बात कर रहा हूँ, उनका नाम मैं नहीं लूँगा. उन्होंने कहा ये फर्दर इन्वेस्टमेंट्स के लिए इंडिया और काजाकिस्तान जा रहे हैं, क्योंकि आपके यहाँ तो मामला तभी सही नहीं होंगे. And they both were the agri players. So this is their status. आखिरी में मैं थोड़ा समराइज करूंगा. बातें करने को बहुत हैं, लेकिन बहुत सारी बातें हो चुकी हैं, खाना भी तैयार है. तो मैं ये कहूँगा कि पाकिस्तान के लिए बहुत अपॉर्चुनिटी है, और ये बात मैं बहुत जिम्मेदारी से कहूँगा कि सऊदीज आर सीरियस अबाउट पाकिस्तान. When I joined the government, मुझे किसी ने कहा कि ट्रक की बत्ती के पीछे लगा देते हैं आपको. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. There is a misperception, misleading narrative. And what I did in Board of Investment, and this should be done with other countries as well, that I engaged 4 Pakistani overseas from Middle East. One was the managing partner of SoftBank. What is SoftBank? They are approving investment projects of $1 to $1.5 billion every month. So there are 12 managing partners of SoftBank in Middle East. One of them is our brother, Pakistani. Last week he was here. We engaged one head of Ashmore, one of my friends from Kuwait, who is a private equity person working in Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, everywhere. He is there since his childhood. A doer. And there were dozens of friends, but I picked only 4 who were the best, who were ready to provide their service on voluntary basis. I talked to the Prime Minister, and we were signing the NDA with them. And one was a lady based in Abu Dhabi now, who was part of the designing of investment strategy of Saudi Arabia. The most well-connected Pakistani woman in Saudi Arabia with the ruling families as well as the business houses. And I advised my team, who was the brilliant team, by the way, Sohail Saab is aware about all the team members, that this is not our work. We should engage the persons who are doing this work 24/7. This is their bread and butter. They know inside out everything, whether the government or the family business houses, how to do it. So we had meetings with all these 4 persons, and we designed a strategy accordingly. And within 6 months, things were moving. The problem is the continuation of the system. Last meeting held between the both countries, both institutions, I checked the minutes. There were 7 countries, Wilsab. But I picked the Saudis number 1 because this was close to my heart. There were only 4 points. One was Aqua Power, one was Al Jumai, one was Aramco, and one Al More project. The Saudis are investing billions of dollars everywhere, but we restricted ourselves to only 4 points, where 3 were the conflict areas. So it's up to us as nation. We should sideline our political affiliations, political love, and everything. We should act as one nation. And the biggest hurdle I am seeing is the political polarization in this country. Without a united Pakistan, without a united nation, without unity in the nation, we can't achieve all these results. Look at India. लड़ते रहते हैं आपस में, हम ज़्यादा करप्शन है वहाँ पे. इंडिया से बाहर निकलते हैं ना, तो वो वन इंडिया हो जाते हैं, वो शाइनिंग इंडिया हो जाते हैं. This is the difference. We should study Uzbekistan, we should study Kazakhstan, we should study Azerbaijan. In last 5-6 years, how they are progressing. Investor आता है, उसकी hand holding करते हैं, उसको facilitate करते हैं, उसको जाने नहीं देते. And what is happening now that investors' flights are going here and there. So Middle East opportunity is big. And if we will attract, and we will resolve these issues and attract the FDI from Saudi Arabia, 4 or 5 projects, small, medium, big size, the UAE will be here automatically. Mark my words. We should work on UAE parallel, but there's a direct link also. And this is the feedback of investment bankers and the persons who are working in the Middle East at the top level. But before doing anything, the strategic things are different, but for investment, for economy, we should fix our house in order. And this is my concluding remark. And I want to pay my thanks to IPRI and WE News for inviting me here. I'm available for any question and answer. And thank you very much again. Pakistan Zindabad.
Thank you so much. This is Mateen Haider. I'm a TV host and a very humble analyst. I've hosted dozens of programs really with the foreign guests, and I also appear in many international TV talk shows and on papers and analysis. And the last speech made by Azhar Saab, extremely important points he highlighted. And I've heard all these speeches, but I would like to listen from these all worthy analysts and speakers that what is the solution. In the end, he said, the system needs to be revamped. Who will take this initiative? We will continue to hold such discussions, dialogues, these all things, but ultimately we are suffering. And everyone quotes India's example, then Qatar's example, and these all things. And I agree with this notion that we lack capacity. But being a board of investment chairman, that person is considered very, very powerful, very authoritative. Where is the issue? Why we are unable to attract this foreign investment? And if this state of affairs continue, then definitely there will be problems for Pakistan, and Pakistan is already going through a very troubled economic time, and it is time for action. So please tell me who will take the initiative, who will take the lead. If there is political instability at the same time, there is rampant corruption. If a foreign investment delegation comes to Chief Minister Punjab or Chief Minister Sindh, or Chief Minister of Balochistan or Chief Minister KP, all these 4 provinces are Board of Investment. Chief Ministers in the meetings publicly say that how much will be my share, kickbacks and commissions. So how to resolve these issues? Issues are also enormous and very deep-rooted. Thank you so much. First to the former chairman of Board of Investment, and then to Ambassador Khan Hasham Saab. Thank you.
Thank you, Mateen sir. I tried to cover many points already. I mentioned about the revamp of the system, which is a big task. So before overhauling of the system, we should focus on few important structural reforms, because this should be done step by step. Of course, revolution nahi aayega yahan pe. You mentioned about the kickbacks and everything. This is also part of the system. This is not in the government or in the public sector, this is in the private sector also. This is in the judiciary also. This is in the military also. This is in the media also. This is in the corporate sector also. So what is actually lacking, which I mentioned, is appointment of competent individuals at the right places. प्राइम मिनिस्टर का एक ग्रुप होता है और वो उसको लेके चलते हैं. जो अच्छे लोग हैं उनको चलाएं, जो अच्छे नहीं उनको निकालें, फारिग करें. एक सिस्टम होना चाहिए. इसी तरह से एक कोलैबोरेशन होनी चाहिए. मैंने बात की ब्यूरोक्रेटिक सिस्टम को चेंज करने की. वो सिस्टम सिर्फ प्राइम मिनिस्टर और कैबिनेट चेंज करेगी, ब्यूरोक्रेट कभी नहीं करेगा. देयर आर ब्रिलियंट ब्यूरोक्रेट्स ऑल ओवर, बट जो सिस्टम है ना वो काम नहीं करने देता. तो देयर आर गुड एंड बैड पीपल इन द कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर ऑल्सो. हम सिर्फ गवर्नमेंट को क्यों ब्लेम करते हैं? कोई भी गवर्नमेंट हो, जब तक आप अपनी फाउंडेशन को स्ट्रांग नहीं करते, जब आप अपनी बेसिक को सही नहीं करते, ये चीजें ऐसी चलती रहेंगी. Whatever is happening in last few months is a very sad episode, but my view is a little different. I may be more optimistic, but I believe that this is also part of an evolution process. And my another view and observation is that this is not restricted to one side. This will be continued. And I believe that this should be continued. There is a realization on both sides actually. Pakistan can't continue, or Pakistan can't progress with the same system, with the same policies, with the same status quo or same mindset. दुनिया बहुत तेजी से आगे बढ़ रही है. मैं अभी लास्ट वीक एक बिजनेसमैन से मेरी बात हो रही थी. We were discussing Ethiopia. आप देखें ना एथियोपिया में क्या हो रहा है, स्टडी करें एथियोपिया को. आप देखें बांग्लादेश में क्या हो रहा है, आप देखें आसियान में क्या हो रहा है. करप्शन आसियान में भी है, बड़ी ठीक ठाक करप्शन है. इंडिया का जो इस वक्त आईटी एक्सपोर्ट्स है वो $181 बिलियन है, जो दिसंबर 2023 में $196 बिलियन हो जाएगी. The total size of their IT space is now over $230 billion, and this is annually. Look at the foreign direct investment inflow of India. The same is the case of the entire Middle East, few African countries, the Central Asia. Pakistan जो भी फेस कर रहा है, हम कहते तो हैं कि पाकिस्तान इज अ लैंड ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज, वो है. उसके लिए सिस्टम को सही करना पड़ेगा. और मैं जो बात कर रहा हूँ ये नेगेटिव बात नहीं कर रहा, क्रिटिकल फीडबैक शेयर नहीं कर रहा. आई एम वेरी मच ऑप्टिमिस्टिक. मैं समझता हूँ कि जो हमारे मसले हैं उनके रिजोल्यूशन इतना मुश्किल नहीं है. इट्स अ मैटर ऑफ 2 to 4 years कि हम चीज़ों को डायरेक्शन पे लेकर आ सकते हैं. नेक्स्ट 5 to 6 years में हम थोड़ा सा आगे जा सकते हैं, और आफ्टर 10 years हम फ्लाई करना शुरू कर सकते हैं. दिस इज आवर एक्चुअल पोटेंशियल. नोइंग द बिजनेसेस, knowing the bureaucratic system, knowing the governments, the biggest hurdle is our elite capture in the twin cities. And they should collaborate for the sake of Pakistan. मैं एक बात कहता हूँ कि मैं से बढ़ के ना हम पर आना पड़ेगा, और अपनी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी, अपने इदारे से बढ़ के पाकिस्तान की बात लिप सर्विस से बियॉन्ड करनी पड़ेगी. वरना मैं आज आपको ये कॉशन कर रहा हूँ कि
आज से 3 साल 2 साल 4 साल बाद जो लोग आ रहे हैं ना वो भी आपके पास नहीं आएंगे. This is the ground reality also. And I'm talking about the global community, not Middle East, not China, the global community. So again, it's up to us. And the time is here कि हम जितनी सफाई कर सकते हैं सफाई करें, एक सिस्टम को ग्रेजुअली चेंज करें. So this is my answer